or what many did expect to see very come shortly after. And over this past weekend, we did just see that the Montreal Canadiens, their season got a little bit more better or worse, depending on which way you view this sort of thing, the situation as that I'm about to get into. So this past weekend, you probably have heard the news. Montreal cleaned house, firing assistant GM Trevor Timmins, senior vice president Paul Wilson, and the biggest name of them all, Marc Bergevin. And shortly after the news broke, former Rangers GM Jeff Gorton was named the vice president of hockey operations. So before I get into what happened and how it unfolded, I want to ask you guys, was the yank of Bergevin too soon or long overdue? And within this ugly start to the season, I'm sure that plays a role in it as well. Evan, what do you got?
Well, I think it should have been done a while ago. I don't think Marc Bergevin really should have been there before the draft. I would go that far back to say that. And well, I think the one problem with Montreal, and in terms of like finding a general manager, is that they want someone who's bilingual, and that's a huge issue because there aren't a lot of GMs out there who can also speak French fluently. And I was having this conversation with my dad after Bergevin got fired, and we were saying how you need to pick one or the other in terms of who's going to be bilingual, whether that be the head coach or the GM. And I think, and now they're talking about like Danny Briere might be the GM of the team. Like, I think like you can't go in this direction where both need to be bilingual. Like I know you want to respect the values, but that was just my little rant on that. I think it's great that they cleared house. I think it was something that needed to be done. And when you're starting off this horrendous, albeit Carey Price is out and so is Shea Weber, so you knew going in it wasn't going to be great, but they also haven't done anything to really improve in terms of like maybe even making a trade at the beginning, or just even firing the head coach, see what happens there. Like it just seems very just seems like a very unfortunate situation. Now Jeff Gorton signed a multi-year deal, so you expect him to be the GM in the future, but I think they really need to they need their fans to also understand that this is a business and that we can accommodate to you, but it can't be 100%.
And I think this firing, if you're going to want to take something else, if you want to look at a different angle of it, is that, and this is for all GMs across the National Hockey League, things move fast in the National Hockey League. It's nothing like you're not. They made it to the Stanley Cup final. I can't believe this still. They were in the Stanley Cup final against the Tampa Bay Lightning months ago. And that's probably one of the biggest successes they've had in recent years. And any team that would be able to do that goes to show how dedicated this team is. It also just goes to show how your previous success in prior years, no matter how great it is, maybe he could have won the Stanley Cup if they were to get there. This still ugly stretch of the season, people want to win now. It's NHL. It's a fast league, as we all know, fast players, fast pulls, fast yanks. It moves very quickly. And this just goes to show that we want to win now, want to win within this time frame that we're setting. And you're not the one getting it done. You had a good run last year. That doesn't mean many things to us right now. So you're getting at it here. And I think that's what they left it at. And just to go on to your point, Evan, and I was also thinking about this as well. And I really don't understand it. Why does it have to be a bilingual guy to be your GM? And I understand the values. They have to keep it. It's a heritage thing, but I mean, you're really sort of limiting the list of who you can hire. Patrick Waugh was mentioned. So many names were mentioned because of what their connections to the Montreal Canadiens, as well as their ability from a French-speaking background. So I think you're really limiting it, and I think you're limiting what your team's going to be doing in the future. That's why I think they brought in Jeff Gorton. He knows his hockey stuff. I was reading something, I'm sure maybe your dad told you, Evan, he knows just about everyone in the National Hockey League. His connections are through the roof. So his ability to be on the team, he has so many sources to go through, so many sources to go to. And I think that's just going to benefit the Montreal Canadiens as a whole. And I think he's going to be dealing more so with the trades around the trade deadline, the offseason, than whoever they're going to bring in. This is my take on it. I think the GM that they're going to bring in is going to end up being French and English speaking. And it's possibly going to be a poster boy, someone that brings back the reminiscence of the old Montreal Canadiens, that way that they played. And it's going to have a very little impact on what this team does in the near future. And I want to turn over to you guys very quickly. Jared, what did you make of the sacking? Too soon? Was it too late? Does loyalty play a factor in what Bergevin did in the past? What were your thoughts on it?
Well, the first thing I wanted to mention is, didn't you call this? I
I
think
did.
like
I
a
was
week.
about to
I
say.
think a week or two into the season, I think you said by December 1st, Marc Bergevin will be gone. So I just want to say credit to you, pat on the back there. And then yeah, I wasn't sure if I was remembering wrong, but I did think I remembered you saying that. And in general, I think last May or just last playoffs really saved his job, because I think if they
Mhm.
were to have been bounced in the first round as they should have been, um like his job, he would have been gone. He wouldn't have made it to the draft. Like Evan was saying, he thought he should have been gone by then. He wouldn't have made it to the draft because their team wasn't good. Their team was struggling. He wasn't really doing anything about it. And he very much, for years now, has made very questionable moves as GM. They kind of caught lightning in a bottle and made a miracle run all the way to the Stanley Cup final. It made him look good. It saved his job. It instantly bumped him into the GM of the year conversation, even though he did nothing to really deserve that. He just kind of, his team went far. Like, good for you. Well, not obviously good for you, but like whatever. I'm salty. Let me be salty. Um,
Jared's a
and then
Canadiens fan.
yeah, and then very much people's thoughts on the Montreal Canadiens were they weren't a good team. They fluked. They made their way to the Stanley Cup final. Then that luckily saved his job, and you couldn't fire him after that because it's like, okay, we just made it all the way far. Like the team now has to believe, and the fans have to believe that they're a lot closer than they actually are to getting it done. So of course it doesn't surprise me that he wasn't fired at that time. He did the draft. Of course, we know the Logan Mailloux situation, and then from there the season started. Just everything was going wrong, left, right, and center. Of course, it's not entirely surprising. Carey Price kind of he sat himself out for his own mental health reasons, and I believe there was well, I don't want to get too into that, but it was just for his own well-being, he sat himself out. Shea Weber, of course, retired, or he announced his retirement, right? Or am
No,
I-
he didn't
No,
announce it, but
but
it's
like
pretty
it's
much there.
Oh,
in
okay,
the
okay. So
stars.
I knew there was something along those lines. And then yeah, just left, right, and center, just things weren't working out with the team, and it's now is the right time. I don't think I'm not going to say they should have done it earlier as much as in an ideal situation it would have happened last off season, but it doesn't surprise me that it didn't because of course that team was coming off of going all the way to the Stanley Cup final, and you can't just boot your guy out there because in their mind they're close to winning a Stanley Cup. So it doesn't surprise me that it didn't happen. I think now the fact that they did it 2 months into the year was the right move. I wouldn't have really done it sooner because it's still at this time of year. Things change by a weekly basis, so I wouldn't have done it earlier. But I think now closing in on December was the right time to ultimately boot out Bergevin, boot out some guys in the front office, and now hopefully change things moving forward. I don't think the team is going to get much better. I think at this point they've pretty much committed to the tank. They very much want Shane Wright. I saw a funny picture actually, who happens to be a guy who went to my high school. It was posted on Spit and Chicklets. It was posted on Bar Down of a guy in a Habs jersey that took his Carey Price and taped it to make it a 51. So that guy, Evan Gelber, he went to my high school. So that's pretty funny. I wasn't very close with him, but that shout out to him because that was kind of going a little bit viral. Yeah, it seems everyone in that organization's kind of committed to this year's a bit of a write-off, and let's hopefully do well, get lucky in the draft lottery, and maybe from there they'll do something and use moving forward.
And I was going to ask you, I think you just kind of answered my question. My next one was, is the season done? And who's going to be the one picking up the pieces? Who's the leading candidates to get the job? I mentioned some French-speaking ones that could become the poster boys and maybe make their way through and maybe move some pieces around. I don't know. Where do you sit on this team? I believe they are, last time I checked, I got it right here, 6, 16, and 2 on the season. So if you're going to make a playoff push, and again, I think this is extremely improbable, very low, you're going to have to win more than, you got what, 24 games played. You're going to have to win 40, for minimum 40 games in the season, and they haven't played that much of a tough schedule. They have had some games against easy opponents that they should beat, and they're getting crushed. This is not like they're losing games and you got to pick apart some little pieces. No, these are big fixes, big boots to fill. And who's going to be filling the boots, or sorry, the void for the Montreal Canadiens? And is their season, is it lost? Does this general manager who's going to come in soon have any reason to go for it now, or is it full, like you mentioned, Jared, tank for Shane Wright and call it at that? Evan, what do you got for guys that might possibly fill the role, and is the season lost?
I don't know. I haven't actually thought of guys who could fill the role because I've only been thinking of French Canadian guys since I know they're the only ones that are getting hired. I do think the season is lost, and I'm not saying that as a negative. I think now is the perfect time to actually rebuild what you have, because you still have two promising young rookies in Nick Suzuki and Cole Caulfield. You can get a goaltender in free agency. Once you can. I mean, I hope to God not, but if you do end up losing the contract of Carey Price and he decides to retire, then you have additional money to spend in order to make this team a success and go out and get a goalie, whether that be before the trade deadline or in free agency. And look, I think they're at a position now where there's no point in trying, because like, if you're gonna suck, you might as well suck. Like, there's no point in you competing and then you end up with the 10th pick when you could have just been minuscule all year and then end up with a top 5 lottery pick. You know what I mean? Like, it's just, if you're gonna suck.
That was the discussion we were having last week, right? Like, if you're going to
Yeah.
be a basement dweller,
Yeah.
and I wouldn't say embrace it, but
I would say
embrace it.
embrace it, because
Yeah.
if you don't embrace it, then you're going to end up with a 10th to 15th pick.
Right.
And not saying that's not good, but obviously there's a reason they're available at 10 and 15.
And the reason why I sort of pumped the brakes a bit on the embrace part is because you don't want to really project that onto your fan base, even though that's all that they're thinking. Like, I've talked to a lot of Montreal Canadiens fans, and I know a bunch of them, and I've heard a lot of things from them towards me being a Leafs fan, all that stuff. That's a whole different conversation, but they're just saying, like, we don't watch this team. We've given up. We don't tune into the games. We don't bother watching and seeing what they're doing. It's just, listen, tank. Let's get it out of the way, peel the bandage off as fast as you can, and let's keep it moving. Because again, they got some young talent here. Cole Caulfield, you named it, Evan. Nick Suzuki is I'd say top 10, 15 centerman in the National Hockey League. I don't know if I'm being a little too abrupt with that, but I think he's around there. He's making the money definitely to put him in that conversation. But you got a bunch of young stars, young guys that can play for you in the future. Don't waste it. Hold on to it and get another one to add to that total. And Adamo, I want to turn it over to you just to give you some time on the Montreal Canadiens, maybe even rip on them a little bit. But what was your thoughts on the sacking? And of course, is the season lost? Is this new general manager going to step in? And I'm sure it's going to be announced in the upcoming weeks, not even maybe sooner. Does he have a chance at resolving this, or should he even touch anything?
I want to touch on the like going a little bit further back here when Evan said that it doesn't make sense. They're hiring not French Canadian, but a French speaking general manager. The reason this doesn't, well, there's a couple reasons this doesn't make sense. One, Kyle Dubas speaks to the media maybe 3 times a year, maybe. Like, you hear him once when, like, in free agency, I guess once after the draft, and then maybe like once. I don't know. Like, I could be wrong, but I rarely hear from Kyle Dubas. So having a GM that speaks French, like, I get it. And I should also say, the GM should speak French. He should learn French. What they do in Europe, like a German coach will come over, say Jurgen Klopp, Pep Guardiola, or Thomas Tuchel. Those are like not English speaking guys, but they'll have translators and they'll learn English as they go. So why not bring in a guy and teach him how to speak French as they go? Just have a friggin' translator. It's not a big deal. They do it in Europe all the time. So having a French GM is one of the dumbest things. Having Danny Briere would be kind of cool, just because if there's one guy that will value skill over size, it's him, being a little guy. Of them. Yeah, like, and that's something I'm a firm believer in. Like, you don't need to be big nowadays to be an effective NHL player. So that's pure speculation. This guy could fully say, like, no, we need 6'4" guys, but I'm just total speculation. But to answer your question, is the season lost? Yeah, they suck. And like, on paper, they suck. They shouldn't be good, and they aren't good. So why, like, embrace the tank almost? I remember that Leaf season.
We knew what was
really
going
hard.
on. We
knew, and like everyone knew. Friggin' Colin Greening was like our leading scorer. He's not in the
Parento.
league. Oh yeah, fucking P.A. Parento.
Oh my god,
the Frenchman himself.
Yeah, we had like what? Didn't we have like Mason Raymond?
That power play line was elite though. Mason Raymond, P.A. Parenteau, Daniel Winnick.
Jesus Christ.
Winnick on the power play.
He did.
How desperate were they?
It was bad, but
we're going.
Look what we got. We got Austin Matthews. Like, we go get Shane. Actually, don't get Shane, right? Because it's the Habs, and that would break my heart. Like I am a believer in if you're not gonna make the playoffs, suck. Like, yo,
Yeah.
Raptors, go get Chet Holmgren. What are we doing here trying to get the 10 seed just to be swept by the 1 seed? Go tank it. Like, I don't know who's bad in football. Go get whoever the first overall
Detroit
pick is. I
Lions?
know. Well,
The
they're
Lions.
always bad. I should have just said the Lions. Go get whoever's gonna go first. It's I don't know who's supposed. I don't even know who's supposed to go first overall this
It's
year. in the
I don't know.
NFL.
Football is such a.
Theroux. He's
It's a
he's
matter of
pretty
who's
good,
healthy by the end of
Like,
the
I
year.
remember it was supposed to be like Spencer Rattler, and then he just fell off a cliff
He's
with
garbage.
the
He's
Sooners. Yeah,
garbage.
he's kind of ass. Roll
Enter the transfer
That's
portal.
that is a whole friggin' other thing. It's not
Yeah.
a friggin' college football. Any of you guys follow college
I
football?
am a huge
No.
college football guy.
You
10,
see what's
12
going
games
on
a
with
week.
Notre Dame right now?
Yeah, they lost
Oh,
Kelly.
it's fucking killing me. They lost Kelly, and they're about to lose their offensive and defensive coordinator.
Yep, he's
to
bringing
LSU,
them all
too.
back.
We
LSU's
are
Did
gonna
you
be elite.
see? Did you see the incentives that he gets 500,000 for every bowl game that LSU goes to?
Yeah,
It's gonna
college
be
football
every
is
year.
ridiculous how they
Yeah,
pay.
but
Yeah.
anyway, yeah, I went to the
Yeah.
UCLA football game
wish,
Saturday
though, I
night against
wish.
Cal, and it was that
Yeah?
was like the most fun I've ever had. And like, obviously, it's not the same experience
It's
in
not like
Canada,
an SEC game, but still.
but no, like the UCLA football game was like one of the coolest
Mhm.
football, and like you feel like you're at a high school game, and then you look around, you're like, oh my god, I'm at the Rose Bowl.
Pasadena, baby.
Oh, that's huge. But yeah, I guess kind of tracking back to hockey. I forgot where we were. Oh yeah, suck. Just suck on
Suck.
purpose.
Yeah.
You know?
And the one thing I just want to bring up before we move into our next set of events here, I'm interested to see if there's and I think there will be a change in identity with this team. We all know, Jared, you talked about this a lot in previous episodes, and it's absolutely true. Where this team, it's they're going to squeeze into the playoffs, but once they get there, they're going to make some noise. The Montreal Canadiens have always been sort of known to do that. Last year was a big attest to that. New York Islanders is another one, and I don't know. I don't want to touch upon them and go on a rant on them because maybe we see a GM change there because they still can't get it together. Totally different problems on their end. But again, the Montreal Canadiens, are we going to see a different style into their game? You mentioned Adamo, more skill over size. It's been all size that they've been focusing on over the last couple of years under Bergevin. Now I'm wondering, was it the GM's perspective on it that sort of insulated that into the team, or was it the ownership? And is it just a Montreal Canadiens thing internally? I think that's an answer that we're gonna have to wait and see how it gets answered with the new general manager. And I think it's just something to keep an eye on. Put it on the back burner a little bit, see how it goes. Just see how this thing pans out, because I think it's definitely an angle that not many people are looking at. It's getting a bit undermined, put in the dark a little bit, but let's just keep it fresh in the memory and see if it does turn out to come to fruition. We see more skill coming towards Montreal. And I think that's all I want to leave on the Montreal Canadiens. Not too much to add. Just if you're going to suck. And teams that aren't sucking right now, and I'll tell you right now, there's a lot of them, including our Toronto Maple Leafs. They're hot. The Edmonton Oilers, they've been hot this entire season to start off the year. The Calgary Flames coming out of nowhere, out of left field, and putting up together a terrific season top to bottom, and led from the back end. Markstrom, holy cow, you can't get any better than him. He is a shutout machine, posting donuts on the board almost every night, it seems. He is.
Tim Beebs on the board.
Tim Beebs on the board. Don't worry, I will get to Tim Beebs. I got the. We're getting there, man. We're getting there at the end.
Good.
At the end. Where are my Tim Beebs?
We'll send you some. They might melt.